If an Irish Rip Van Winkle slept for 100 times the legendary 20 years, he would find two things somewhat familiar on his reawakening: the Gaelic language and hurling. They are now greatly changed, but their cure remains. Hurling is the Irish version of the ball and stick game known in many parts of the world. In the Cuchulainn legend, at least 1,000 years old, but purporting to refer to a much earlier period, the ball and stick are used not only for play but for killing. As a game, it may have developed from a form of hunting, when a stick was used to propel a stone into a flock or a herd. Two distinct forms of the game were known in Ireland: hurling and Commánacht. The Comán used in Commánacht was probably made by pulling up an ash sapling and paring its root to flatness. The hurl has long been made by felling an ash tree and shaping parts of it so that the roots act as blades. The ash is favoured because it's so resilient. For the same reason, it makes the best swingle tree. It has a marvellous springy quality. Country people say, "You think it was alive." Edward and Michael Brennan have shrewd eyes for the best makings of a hurl. The old way of felling the tree was to dig around its roots and, using a mattock and axe, cut through the taproot. Today, the chainsaw is used as its tip cuts down at an angle into the roots. This is not possible with a handsaw. The ancient way of unselving a tree still persists. However, even into this intimate task, the machine is making its way.
That's not too bad now. It's clean enough.
No, that's a good stick.
Inch sawmills on the River Nore near Kilkenny town. Liam Brett starts the mill by turning the wheel that will cause other wheels to turn. The invention of the wheel was a mighty step forward, and in the watermill, the natural and man-made are beautifully fused. At the end of this power sequence is a modern wheel, the circular saw. Liam Brett is the third generation to own and run Inch sawmills. His son is the fourth. It doesn't require a calculator to work out what a massive saving on electricity he's making by using water power. Once upon a time, a traveller in Wales was amazed because he saw hardly any ash or willow trees, and this was before the days when the woods were felled for pit props. He inquired, and was told that the ash and the willow had been devoured by the passion for bandy, the Welsh form of hurling. Ash is scarce in Ireland because it burns so readily and so cleanly, and because the Forestry Department do not include it in their scheme of things. This scarcity is among the reasons for the high cost of hurleys. So is the amount of patient labour the craft demands. Hurls are being made from fiberglass and plastic, but they lack the spring and resilience of the wood. Hurl makers are few, and most, like the Brennans in Kilkenny, live in areas where the game is strong. John Surlis is an exception. He plies his craft in Monasterraden, County Roscommon, a county where Gaelic football is king.
Would you like to be able to make one?
Yeah.
Well, if you have the time, you can watch me.
What is that?
Ash. They call the plant because it's a young egg. Do you see how it's made now?
Yeah.
Now, how would you know a good hurley?
It's good and strong.
Yeah. And the grain running all the way down,
Yeah.
round about that way. And when you get it coming all the way straight and around about in the horseshoe shape,
Yeah.
that's a good hurley, because when you hit the ball, if it was straight, that piece it'd break off.
Yeah.
And all you had left was the straight bit then. You'd be shouting for a hurley. And you cut it in the fall of the year, from October till March. And the sap is in the centre of the din, and down in the root. And it won't take so long to season. If you cut it in summertime, it'll be all sap and soft. And you never heard of Christy Ring?
No.
Well, he was supposed to be the best hurler in Ireland. And he died a few years ago. Oh boys, I think it's all right. We'll finish it on the grey mare.
John uses the Cooper's mare, a medieval type of vice. He uses too the spoke shave, another instrument long known to those who shave things with loving sensitivity.
Now, all I'll have to do is take the track of the saw. All right. Now do you see the grain? All the way down. Look. And round about. You have the track of the saw off it now. That's the sawdust. We're down to the right side.
What's that sandpaper there for, Brandon?
The sandpaper?
Yeah.
Well, it gives a grip. When I leaned up, pressed down on that, the sandpaper gives it a rough grip.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have sandpaper on it, I'd have to do this with the saw to roughen that so it wouldn't be slippery. And the same here. But the sandpaper is rough and it's able to hold it. Now, now look, you couldn't pull it out.
The Butler Castle overlooks the River Nore. Kilkenny town is the home of Rémy Dowling, maker of the well-known Star Hurley. He gets his ash trees planked by Liam Brett. his son Tom marks out a batch of hurls. They're made in 6 different sizes, from the 28-inch junior hurl for 7 and 8-year-olds up to the 38-inch senior hurl. A map of the distribution of hurling would show a remarkable fact. It's played almost entirely in the more fertile parts of the country, and few parts are more fertile than Kilkenny, and it's the only county where hurling predominates almost to the exclusion of Gaelic football. Rémy Dowling is among its folk heroes. He was a goalkeeper, an art for which the county is especially famous. He belongs to a great line that includes Jimmy O'Connell, Ollie Welsh and Noel Skehan. A hurling goalkeeper's margin of error is like that of a batsman in cricket. Tantalising, the tiniest error can undo him. It's among the reasons for Rémy Dowling's expertise in the making of hurls. A keeper uses 2 kinds of hurls, one for general play and another for taking a free stroke. The difference between the former and the latter is almost as great as that between the modern hurl and the ancient come on. It's in a way truly an art, like the bowmakers of medieval times, vital to the warfare of their tribe. Shaping the hurl on the bandsaw is called sliding. Rémy's sons Tom and Brian carry on the craft. Rémy's wife Breda is the daughter of the late Tom Neary, the hurl maker, who started making hurls in 1921. In the old days, they looked for an ash plant growing out of a bank with a nice curve to its root. Rémy also made hurls from white elm. But the handle had to be insulated, as one got a sting when one walloped the ball. Willow is also used. When Rémy has completed the sliding, his son Brian takes over. This is the same job that John Surlis was doing on the Cooper's mare, except Brian uses a bench stop. The tools are similar. Come on is the Gaelic word for a hurl. Its root is cown, the word that in several languages denotes bent or crooked. The original hurley may have been nothing more than a shepherd's crook. Today's hurl is the product of generations of experience and experimentation, and the experimentation goes on. Even the concept of a single piece of ash is no longer sacred. Some players, indeed, prefer a hurl with a segmented blade. The sanding machine has speeded up this part of the job. In the old days, a piece of broken glass was used to smooth the hurl. Ger Fennelly, the brilliant Kilkenny man, drops in with the broken hurl for repair.
Hi, Brian.
I'm sure, how are you keeping?
Well,
You have a problem?
I've been with a problem after last Sunday's match.
You want a piece in it, I see.
Yeah, I want a piece.
Okay. You'll want it for the weekend anyway.
We have a match on Sunday, you know, if you could have it for Sunday.
Oh yes, I'll have it Friday evening. You'll be passing by, will you?
Should I call about 3 or 4 o'clock, thank you?
Oh, that's great, that's great. I'll have it then.
Okay, then.
Okay, Ger.
Yeah.
All the best.
Brian will have to cut and glue a piece of ash to the damaged hurl. Hurling has about it a mystique that Gaelic football cannot match. One of the reasons is that it's the more skillful game, and part of the reason is that it's ancient. Modern football is only as old as inflatable rubber, and in some parts of the country you will hear the older generation say, "Football is not much of a game, the good people never played it." The good people are the fairies, and the reference is to the frequency with which hurling occurs in the tales about them. But the hurling in the fairy tales was Camánacht, the ancient game of the narrow stick. As distinct from the hurl, it had no boss or blade. It's often referred to as winter hurling, the other form, summer hurling. Summer hurling was like cricket, in that it was closely associated with the big house. Landlords kept teams of hurlers, just as their counterparts across the Irish Sea kept teams of cricket players. This inter-house rivalry was intense, and it was common in 18th century newspapers to see advertisements for hurling matches. The Act of Union and the decline of the big house brought this kind of competition to an end, and organised hurling languished until the coming of the GAA. Brian has to make his own two-headed nails. Not so long ago, Cooper's nails would have been available for the job. The hurling heartlands of today are almost all territories where once the summer game and the big house flourished. And all but one of these heartlands are in the southern half of the country. The exception is North Antrim, a reminder that the narrow sea between there and Scotland is less a boundary than a roadway. The foundation of the Gaelic Athletic Association had a curious sequel. The older form of the game soon disappeared. It is sometimes said that the GAA gave official recognition to the newer form, but perhaps it had no choice. Gaelic football grew in popularity like grass in a showery May, and in many parts of the country seems to have supplanted winter hurling. Winter hurling survives now in the Scots Highlands in the form of shinty. It's a very different game from modern hurling, and attempts to create a compromise form have failed. Owen Ruo Sullivan, the celebrated Gaelic poet of the 18th century, wrote a poem about the ideal spade. And a man will cherish his spade or his hayfork or his sláán as he would a hurl or a musical instrument, because, as we would say, it suits him. It makes his work easier. And in the same way, some men are loath to discard a damaged hurl. It may have a special feel which they fear they can never recapture, or they may believe that it is their lucky hurl. And thus they will get the hurl repaired, even though this breaches the sacred tradition that a hurl must be a single piece. band of metal also helps to strengthen the hurl. Brian Cody is another of today's young lions. He's Kilkenny's captain. His team are about to play Cork in the All-Ireland final. The prize is hurling's holy grail.
Hello, friend Remy. Yeah, that's nice. Grain looks very good in that one.
Yeah, good bit of timber, very good bit of timber.
That one. Ah, yeah, this is one I really fancy, all right.
Yes, the bands and that do 'em up.
Ah, that's a grand job out here.
Oh, as long as they're lucky.
Exactly. That's what matters.
How about that one then?
Here's another one, Brian.
Another one.
Try keep
I'll
it
never make me mind up.
out, huh?
But that's a grand hurler, Remy.
Yes, yeah.
It feels very like the other one, this one
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
A very similar type of hurls. Great grain in it again, and
And
I like the handle, I like the grip.
yes.
I suppose I better make up your mind anyway, Remy.
Yes, yes, right now, well, that's up to you.
Suppose I took these two, how would that
Yeah,
be?
that'll do grand, Brian. That'll
Oh,
do
that's great,
grand.
Remy.
As long as they're lucky, that's the main thing.
Hopefully they're 2
Yeah.
grand sticks.
The firm of O'Neill's in the heart of Dublin has been renowned for the making of schlithers, the Gaelic word for the hurling ball, for a very long time. Liam Dargan uses all the techniques of a saddler and harness maker. The thread he prepares for sewing has a needle on each end and must be rolled and waxed to make it waterproof. Schlither almost certainly comes from lither, the old word for hair, and the typical hurling ball in older days was of horsehair in a pigskin casing. Not long ago, schlithers were the colour of natural leather, brown. White leather, a new introduction, makes the schlither easier to see, particularly when practicing at dusk. The leather palms he puts on prevents the sewing thread from cutting into the side of his hands when he draws the stitches tight. The modern ball is the subject of continuous experiment. The main ingredient is now cork, encased in spun yarn dipped in latex. The modern ball is more streamlined too, and its greater carry is changing the tactical shape of the game. Such men as Liam Dargan do not see their names on the sports pages, but on the pitch they can see the effect of their handiwork. Hammering the ball rounds the joints and sets the stitches. When the cricket bat strikes the ball correctly, the meeting of willow and polished leather produces a sweet sound. So too does the wedding of ash and schlither. Today is the testing time for Brian Cody and his warriors, and for the hurl that Rémi Dowling and his sons wrought for them. Kilkenny meet Cork in Dublin's Croke Park for the All-Ireland hurling final. The ending is happy. Brian's hurl proves to be lucky after all.